Hi guys, and welcome to today's video. Those of you that are new to my channel, my name is Maria, and today I'm going to be trying out some of the products that I purchased from the recently released, it's the MAC Magnificent Moon collection. I picked these products up here in New Zealand, and I understand that this has also been released in the UK and I think maybe Europe as well. I picked up the face palette, which has 3 blushes and 1 highlighter. I also picked up the eyeshadow palette and I picked up 1 lipstick. I think there were about 4 lipsticks that were released. They're all in a creamy matte type of formula. There was also a double-ended brush which has just a design like on the front of these packaging with this celestial design, which is really lovely. And there was also the MAC Fix Plus spray, and that came in a bottle again with that same sort of design with the stars on it. And there were also some lip liners released as well, but I didn't pick any of those up. And as for the brush, I haven't bought a MAC brush for quite a while, and I do have a couple of MAC brushes and I really like them. But the fact that that was a double-ended brush, I just don't like them because there's nowhere really for me to store them. I like to store a brush so that it's sitting like this in the jars next to me, and I can't do that with a double-ended brush. So this Magnificent Moon collection is limited edition, and it says on the MAC website, that's the MAC UK website, that this is astral inspired packaging, and this is the packaging in all the products. It is really lovely. I haven't even opened these up yet, so I'll be opening them up for the first time with you. So this is what the palette looks like inside, and it still has the plastic little covering over the MAC there. So I'm just going to peel that off. So in this palette are 6 shades, and none of them are new colours. But what they've done is put together 6 shades that they say are their top selling and most popular shades. Now I used to wear MAC eyeshadows quite a few years ago and I love them. And I think one of them in here, or a couple I did have, because I don't have any other like those single MAC eyeshadows anymore. But I think I do have, there's a shade in here, Soft Brown, and there's also one Antiqued and another one called Nylon, and those names ring a bell. I'm pretty sure I had those. So the packaging itself is cardboard. It does have a magnetic closure, and inside is a fairly decent sized mirror. And here are the eyeshadows. These are in different formulas. There is a matte, there is also Frost, and the other formula, Velux Pearl. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to swatch these on my arm so you can take a look. So this shade is Nylon, this is Soft Brown, then we have Texture, then we have Antiqued, then we have Embark, and then the very last shade is Carbon. So when I was swatching the shades on my arm, they were super soft. So I imagine these are going to blend fairly well. I'm going to do, I think, quite a soft look. You could definitely go quite dramatic because you've got the shade Carbon in there. But I'm going to start off with the shade, and that is Soft Brown. I'm going to take the Rapha number 15 brush and go into this shade here. And I'm pretty sure this is the shade that I used to have when I used to have probably at least 20 or 30 MAC single eyeshadows. And this is one of the shades, and I used to wear it all the time. Then I'm going to take the Rapha number 14 and go into this shade here and put some of that through my crease. Now this is shade Texture, and I just want to deepen up my crease just a little bit. As I said, I'm not going to do a very dramatic look. I just want to keep this fairly soft. Then I'm going to take the Sonia G Worker 3 and I'm going to go into this shade here. This shade is called Antiqued. and I'm just going to put some on the outer corner, but today I think I'm also going to put some of the shade in the inner corner as well, but just leave the center of my eyelid. Then I'm going to take the Sonia G, this is the crease one. I'm going to go back into that same shade, and I'm just going to put a bit through here because this is a neutral type of eyeshadow look. I just want to do it a little bit differently today. And then I'm just going to take the Sonia G, this is the Blender Pro, and I just want to blend this shade in just so it blends with the other shade that I've got on as well. These shadows are going on really beautifully, and they're also blending really beautifully too. Then I'm going to take the soft shader and I'm going to go into this darker brown shade here, and I'm just going to put that on my lower lash line. And then using that same dark shade, I'm going to take, this is the Sonia G, this is the mini booster, and I'm just going to pick up a tiny bit, and I'm just going to add some just to the very, very outside part of my eyelid and in the crease. I'm going to take the Refa number 2 and I'm going to go into the shade Nylon, and I'm just going to pick up a little bit to begin with, and I'm going to place that in the center. Then I'm going to take the Refa number 3 using that same light shade, and I'm going to put that in the inner corner. And then I'm just going to wipe the Refa 3 down, go back into this shade here, and just put a little bit more on my lower lash line. And then again with that same shade, I'm going to use the Chukuhodo. This is the F08 brush. And I'm just going to line my upper lash line. So I've now put on my mascara as well. And the mascara that I've used is my favourite one of my favourite ones, is the Chanel Le Volume one. And the foundation and powders and bronzers and everything else that I've got in my face today will be linked in the description box below. So now let's take a look at this face palette. Again, in the outside packaging, it's just like the eyeshadow palette, and it is the Surrounded by Stars. So again, I'll just take off that plastic label on the front. So it looks the same as the eyeshadow one, it's just a little bit bigger. Now this has the 3 blushes, and this also has 1 highlighter in it as well. Now, one of the blushes is a brand new shade. The other ones are their favourites from their collection. And apparently the highlighter is one of the favourites from the Normal Matte collection as well. There is 15.2 grams of product, and this is made in Italy. And the eyeshadows were made in Italy as well. So here is what the face palette looks like inside. I think that the shades look really, really lovely. Now, I haven't tried any of this MAC formula before. Years ago, I used to have MAC blushes, but they were just purely in the powder form, and they weren't like these. There is that really beautiful embossing on, and it sort of just mirrors what's on the outside packaging and the packaging that's on the palette as well. So in this palette is 1 highlighter that is already in the MAC range, and the rest are like cream powder blushes. This shade here and this one are already in the MAC range. It's this shade here that is unique to this collection. And this blush shade is called, I think it's called Surrounded by Stars. And yes, I just double checked. And this is the shade that is unique to this palette. It's called Surrounded by Stars. So the names of all the shades from left to right and top to bottom we have Oh Darling, then we have Hush Tone, Surrounded by Stars, and then the very last one here is Hard to Get. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to swatch these on my arm so you can take a look. So here is the highlight shade, and that one is Oh Darling. Then this one is called Hush Tone, Surrounded by Stars, and then Hard to Get. So for the blush, I'm going to use the Chukuhodo. This is the F03 brush, and I'm going to use a couple of different shades for the blush. I'm going to use the unique shade to this palette, Surrounded by Stars. So we'll start off with that one first. And that is a really beautiful shade. And I thought by looking at this palette that they were going to be really glittery and a little bit chunky, but they're not like that at all. Actually, it has a definite sheen to it, and you definitely get a glow with this blush, but it is really, really lovely. It's a lot more subtle than I thought it was going to be, and I think it looks really beautiful. So on top of that shade, I'm going to go in with the shade, it's called Hush Tone, and that is this shade here. And I'm just going to put that over the top just to get a little bit more colour. But I do think this Surrounded by Stars shade is just really beautiful by itself. And then for the highlight, I'm going to take the Rapha, this is the number 20, and go into the only highlight that's in here, and that's the shade Oh Darling. And that highlighter definitely packs a punch. But it is really, really pretty. You could probably get a lot more payoff with even a more dense brush, because this fan brush is it's not tightly packed at all. And even this I thought could be a bit chunky or a bit glittery, but it's not like that at all. It's actually really, really beautiful. And then finally is lipstick. I picked this up in the shade, I only got the one lipstick, there were 4 of them, and these are all unique shades to this collection. And this one is called Across the Sky, and these are supposed to be a creamy type of matte formula. So here is the outside packaging, again all with that astral type of theme. It's really, really lovely. And this is what the bullet looks like, and here is the shade. It is what I thought was probably the type of shade that I would wear out of all 4. So I'm going to swatch it on the back of my hand, and this is what the shade looks like. And when I swatched it on my hand, it did feel actually very creamy, so I'm hoping these are going to be quite comfortable on the lips. It's been a long time since I've actually had MAC lipstick. I used to have so many of them, and I think I did keep a couple, and then last year I ended up throwing them out because they were just quite a few years old and I wouldn't have been able to wear them. I don't really know why I kept them, probably because I just used to love MAC lipsticks so much. So we'll pop this shade on and see how it looks. So here is the final look, and I love the eyeshadow, and I know now why I used to have a couple of those shades that are in this palette. They are really, really lovely, and they also blend beautifully too, and I love the final eye look. I didn't go into the black shade, the shade Carbon, because I wanted to keep the eye look fairly soft. But I'm really happy with how this eye look turned out, and the lighter shade certainly gives a really good highlight in the inner corner. The face palette is really lovely. The blushes are a lot better than I thought they were going to be. As I said, I thought they were going to be a bit glittery and a bit chunky, but they're not like that at all. I layered 2 of the blushes, so I got even more of a glow, and the highlighter has a lot of payoff to it. I was just using that really loosely packed, that Rapha brush, and there is certainly a lot of highlight. If you went to use your finger or a more dense type of brush, you get even more of sort of a wet look from it if you wanted to. I'm glad I picked the shade lipstick that I did out of the 4, because out of the 4, this was definitely the most wearable for me. I think this is a really pretty shade. The formula of the lipstick, it is matte, but it still feels quite creamy. So it hasn't gone to a flat matte, which I don't like because it can end up emphasizing the lines in my lips. And for me, I just don't like that type of look. But if the lipstick stays like this for the rest of the day, then it's going to be quite a comfortable lipstick to wear. So overall, I'm really pleased that I picked up all of these items. Do you need these eyeshadows? Maybe not if you have some of them already. But if you want some of MAC's most favorite shades, the neutral shades, all in one palette, then I think this is a great little eyeshadow palette. And these blushes are really, really beautiful. And it's lovely that they do have one unique shade in here. All the colors are really gorgeous, and they applied so much better than I thought they were going to. And I love the look of them. They don't emphasize the texture on my skin at all. They just give this really beautiful glow. So I'm very happy with the collection. I think it's really, really lovely. And last year I did buy a MAC eyeshadow palette, and I did a video on that, and I said then how I was pleased that I'd started to try MAC again. And again, I'm not disappointed. All of these are really, really lovely as well. So that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. And I will see you next time. Bye.